Hello guys, and welcome back to Joe's Ventures. And today, since we've gone through another month, we've got another dev diary for Prehistoric Kingdom. Everyone's favorite, accurate dinosaur park builder. So one that I've always held near and dear to my heart. So we've got another month, so we're going to have a look at some of the stuff coming to update 15, but also go over some other things as well. So let's carry on. So we've got dev diary April 2025, so this devlog for May 1st. So, welcome to the April Development Diary. In case you missed it, update 14 is now available. This enormous update adds baby animals, seamless growth, herding, first person, and a number of other exciting changes. So yeah, a lot of really cool changes. Definitely a big fan of all those, especially first person, but also, the babies. How can you not love baby dinosaurs? And they're also having currently a 30% off sale on Steam until May the 2nd. So if you're interested in trying the game, now is a great time. So as you can see, that's test for the update. We won't worry about that. Yeah, that's for the update. We're also proud to announce our adorable mascot, Crowny, now has her very own U2's plushie. So I know if you guys love plushie, you can have one of those. Once she's gone for good. So make sure your order is in on time. So you can see the whole bunch there. Looks really, really cute. Definitely a big fan of Crowny. So let's have a look at the state of development so far, and you can have a look at the Trello as well, but we're going to be going through what's on the dev update. So, wow, what a month. Since the update launched, we saw our player count peak at 702 concurrent players, the highest it has been since launching into early access. It may not sound insanely high compared to bigger games, but it tells us that things are on the right track. So, that's a really big update, and really cool to see that a lot of people are tuning in. That's definitely really cool. In terms of supporting Update 14, we'll be delivering another patch in the next few days to address some of the remaining issues. Problems like animal teleportation are proving difficult to determine, but we will continue to look into it. We will also hopefully resolve problems with the Epic Games service, so the update will be soon going live there. So yeah, it's been a big one, that big update in Update 14, a really important and cool update because we get babies growing and ontogeny, things like that. So we get to see our animals grow up and things, and yeah, it's a really cool update, and I love the first person. Had a little bit of play around with it. It's really good. But anyway, update 15, let's carry on. So, looking ahead into the future, with our hopes to update 15, the plan is to release a public test branch version in late June, with the full update coming in July. Since we've only just entered full production of this update, all the imagery below will be done with mockups. So one of the big agendas for this update is animal behavior. So our primary goal for Update 15 is to expand our animal behaviours, building upon the herding and social group that we were just included. So we have herding and stuff in this update up 14, but we're going to expand on that a little bit more next time. So the first of these goals will make animals look at each other with head IK, greatly improving the sense of realism in shared spaces. So that's quite cool because a lot of the times they just walk around very static, almost like a big plank of wood, and they don't really move and look at things. But yeah, this is really cool, and it'll really help with that sense of realism. So you can see kind of mocked up here, you can see that the Triceratops are looking at the Rex, that threat, and the T-Rex is looking back. It looks really, really cool. Definitely a big fan. So next, we often see feedback wishing that PK's animals would interact with each other. Currently, all species coexist in complete harmony, like in the Garden of Eden, but this was never the long-term goal, because obviously, things got to be eaten, so that's kind of going to be added in there. So for this next update, we'd like to build upon Update 14's animal awareness systems and support the foundations of combat with two important behaviours, fleeing and threatening. So fleeing, as you might imagine, forces an animal to run away when they're scared, but threatening, however, will use a new animation to show an animal firmly standing its ground to defend itself. And combined with angry vocalizations from Update 14, we hope to get quite a bit of dynamism from this animal encounter. So you can see it's the mock-up here, it's almost like a bull sometimes, how they paw the ground, ready to charge. You can see that Trike is ready to do so, and obviously the Rex probably has decided I'm not going to have a bar of this because I don't want to get skewered, and I also like living, but also I'm not that hungry, so it's going to walk off and do its own thing. But I think this really cool threatening animation as well, even though fleeing is just running away. I think the threatening could be a really cool way to add personalities in dinosaurs. So I think a couple dinosaurs could have unique threatening animations just to make them look, or give them a bit of personality, which is quite cool. And what's really cool as well, that now beyond scaring away potential predators, threat animations can be used for socially competitive animals like Triceratops. So it gives them a way to challenge the herd leader and influence their own social hierarchy. So a lot of herd animals, they will sometimes have a hierarchy based on, strength and size, and they will fight over that hierarchy to get to be the top dog. Or, some animals, like elephants, the males will come in and then kind of fight for dominance, but also as well, some will like things like Grevy's horses, they'll have a territory, and they have the stallion and their mares and things like that. So those kind of social hierarchies would be cool to explore in Prehistoric Kingdom. So animals that will fight each other for these kind of hierarchies, as you can see here, will be able to use those threatened animations, things like that, and be able to interact with each other a bit more. So I think that's really cool. But also less competitive animals like Dryosaurs will actually passively establish their hierarchies in the background, so opting for whoever is largest. So like in Planet Zoo, where they have different social structures, I think it'd be cool to have different social structures for all the different types of dinosaurs, and it seems like that'll be the thing here. So sometimes, you'll have them fight for status in their group and things like that. But yeah, really, really cool. So that's a really cool behavior. I think that is really awesome to be added. Be able to look at each other, but also, stand and fight a bit and, threaten each other. So it just makes them a little bit more interactive with each other as well. I think that's quite cool. Definitely a big fan of that. But next up, we've got kind of another big update that's coming. We've got Paleoflora. So this is a very interesting one. You can see the Torvosaurus here and all sorts of Jurassic plants. It looks like it's taken a snapshot right out of the Jurassic of Portugal, or this, because it's Tannerai, this is North America. So that's quite cool. So Paleoflora is a new gameplay mechanic that aims to reward players for using foliage from the correct geological era. Typically, this boils down to using Cenozoic plants for mammals and our brand new Mesozoic plants for dinosaurs. So you can see brand new Mesozoic plants. Unlocking the past. So at the start of a challenge game, players will only have access to the modern day Cenozoic plants. So this is good for mammals, all the essentials you come to know and love. So all the ones pretty much in the game now. This is great news for all the mammals in your park, but not so much for the dinosaurs, because they need paleoplants. So luckily for them, the excavations menu is going to include Paleoflora sites from all over the world. Players will need to send out science teams and recover enough material to unlock 35 different species of extinct plants over 8 biomes. So you can see this is kind of the mock-up UI. Very similar to how you would go through and grab all the other animals. You can see, working on different plant species there, which is really, really cool. But yeah, there's the Brazilian floodplain to give you these different species. Really cool. So that's for the extractions. So once unlocked, players will be able to find their newly discovered plants in both the modular building menu and the revised landscaping menu coming to update 15. There is a lot of variance coming with these new species, so creative players will have plenty to work with. So you can see here different habitats there. So Cretaceous forest coastal, that's one will be covered there. Plants 12, and you can go through there and you can pick these different ones. So Jurassic, Cretaceous, which should be quite cool. And big fan of that. So you can see that's getting its own kind of updated menu as well. And in terms of adding Paleoflora, this is actually quite important because it will have benefits for your animals as we go into. So adding Paleoflora. So inside an animal's info menu, you will find the Paleoflora bar. So as you might guess, this bar fills up by using plants from the correct era, depending on when the animal lived. So this is Arlo the Apatosaurus, fitting Pixar movie, Arlo. So these guys come from the Jurassic period, so these are using plants that come from the Jurassic. And you can see the Paleoflora is quite high here. So you can see Paleoflora provides ecological authenticity and health benefits. So Mesozoic 66%, that includes an ecology bonus, 12% wellness, but also 6.5% stimulation for herbivores while browsing. So you can see those benefits there, and we'll get to a little bit more about them. So unlike other requirements like the forest or water need, these guys do have no minimum value, so you don't need these plants. So a lot of these plants, when you plant them in, they'll be as a bonus. So think of it more like as a bonus as you get the most out of your enclosures. So getting it wrong won't make your animals upset or like impact their welfare in any way, but you'll be missing out key benefits that come with a high level of Paleoflora. So I really like this system because obviously you'll be starting out with Cenozoic plants, and you'll have to have dinosaurs and Cenozoic plants. And you can still have that option if you want to decorate it with, modern plants. That's fine. They don't mind. But this Paleoflora really adds benefits both gameplay wise and aesthetically because it looks like it's in the Jurassic, but there's actually gameplay benefits as we'll go through here to actually incentivize you to go out and collect all these plants and use them in your parks. And we'll go through that why. So we've got the ecology bonus points. So this will increase the ratings of your animal with an ecology bonus, and it gets by getting its Paleoflora bar over 50%. So if you portraying animals in a more accurate way, you'll get a bonus because you have the proper ecology, the proper habitat for that animal. So that will allow it to have a higher rating. So you're seeing it in a more natural setting. Another great thing is browsing enrichment as well. So herbivores will gain additional enrichment with browsing from foliage and habitats with high Paleoflora. So, it's with animals, and the herbivores will have things that they've naturally browsed in prehistory. So that provides a bit of a benefit as well, and makes it a bit more natural for them. But also really cool is the wellness increased. So once disease are added in a later update, high levels of Paleoflora will reduce how susceptible animals are to environmental diseases. So makes sense, you're giving the animals what they actually ate in history, in prehistory. So it helps, with making sure that they don't get as sick because they're getting that proper nutrition. Because you can't replace, exactly the right nutrition of things. We try to substitute it, but you can't beat the real deal. But yeah, that's quite cool. So I think that's really cool that it gives a really cool incentive to you to actually go out and collect these plants and make sure that you get the right time period and the right plants for your animals, and I think that's quite cool. I really do like that. I think that's a good mechanic, and I love this Paleoflora mechanic because you can see all these cool paleo plants. And I think as well, this is how it should have been done in Jurassic World Evolution. I think because we do have paleo plants and things, but they don't replace the feeders and all that stuff. But okay, we've also got here browsing behavior. So browsing is a new enrichment behavior coming to update 15 that allow herbivores to gain stimulation from grazing or on bushes or trees. The more era appropriate the foliage is in their habitat, the more enrichment they'll receive. So you can see there's a Brachiosaurus having a good old graze or good old browse on these plants here that are accurate to its time. Having a good time. Really, really do love it. This looks like a shot right out of the Jurassic because you can see the Dryosaurus hanging down there as well. So really, really cool. And you can see here, since browsing is not a substitute, so you have to have feeders in your coaster. This is not like Jurassic World Evolution, where you have the paleoplants and they'll feed on the paleoplants. You will have to have feeders, and this browsing will not be a substitute in challenge mode, so you'll have to have feeders. But in Sandbox, there will be an option to allow herbivores to gain food while browsing, so that makes them self-sustaining as long as they've got plants. And this has been a highly requested feature from the community, so excited to finally work on it. So a lot of people like to make, sanctuaries and things. I know a lot of people in zoo games, they'll often won't even build fences in zoos and things. They just kind of create a natural environment and then just let the animals go and do their own thing. And there's often some limitations there, like Planet Zoo, you have to put them in an enclosure. Jurassic World Evolution, you got those big hatcheries that you have to let them out of, and they don't breed on their own. But if anyone, which is really cool, I think this is the closest we're going to get for a while, because they'll actually be able to, eat and stuff like that, so you're able to perpetuate them into the future. So you can pretty much create, of course, your own kind of Site B styles thing, either Site B or, something like a natural wildlife preserve kind of thing, so that'd be quite cool. And I really like this one here. I think it would be really cool, though. I think another cool mechanic would be cool. I don't know how this would be implemented, but I like the idea because we have animals, especially animals that are very destructive. Like, I'll use my zoo that I work at, for example. We have parrots, and we had 2 parrots that bred, and then we had 5 in the enclosure, and they did a bloody number on the enclosure. Because parrots love to destroy things. They got very strong beaks, very curious, so they love to destroy things. And the plants in the habitat really took a beating. So it's another thing to really consider with enclosure design, is how destructive your animals will be, or if your animals are grazing. So a lot of zoos will sometimes fence off certain trees in their enclosure so the animals don't rub up against it or destroy it. Just so you keep the trees and keep them safe. Especially things like elephants that love to knock down trees. So I think it'd be a cool mechanic in here to make sure that the trees are protected, or there's just enough of them. I really like as well as maybe if some animals are more destructive as others. So example here, we use Brachiosaurus and Camarasaurus because I think since we're in the Jurassic, that kind of is in my head. Let's just imagine Brachiosaurus is like an elephant, just loves to destroy things, loves to push over trees, loves to stomp on things, and loves to be really destructive. So if you have an animal like that, you need to be really careful of the plants that you have in that enclosure, but also how you protect those plants. So I think that would be a really interesting thing to manage as well in your enclosure design. Because if you have Brachiosaurus that's really, really destructive, you're going to have to make sure the plants in there can actually resist that dinosaur. But if then you have an animal like Camarasaurus, smaller, a little bit more gentle on the plants, so you won't have to quite as worry as much as a Brachiosaurus, and you can be a little bit more lenient in how you keep these plants and things like that. So I think that'd be a really cool mechanic, just to like a habitat destruction, like how some like Planet Zoo, has the barrier fence deplete. I think it'd be cool to have something with the plants in there, and especially would help with stocking. So some enclosures, you may have to think about how many animals you have in that enclosure, especially if they're destructive like Brachiosaurus, like maybe an enclosure that could handle 6 Camarasaurus can only handle like 2 Brachiosaurus because of just how destructive they are in terms of their plant hardiness and things like that. So I think that would be a really cool mechanic. I don't know if that's been explored or talked about yet, but I think that's really cool and I think that should be added. Yeah, I like that one. So yeah, then we can also see here we've got the Dryosaurus, having a good feed there. Looks really, really cute. Love a Dryosaurus, very adorable. And feeding on, of course, these Jurassic plants. Really, really awesome. But it's really cool as well. We've got some changes to the feeders as well. So dietary requirements and new feeders. So as one of the last notes for this dev diary, we've got some dietary changes coming for update 15. First up, if an animal eats multiple diets, they are going to need them in their habitat to be happy. So this change is meant to stimulate the logistics economy by making lesser used diets like fruits, fish, and insects more of a requirement than a suggestion in challenge mode. So you have to have these for different animals, and it actually kind of forces you to use it. So exactly how many diets an animal wants in its habitat will be determined per species, with some being more picky than others. So you can see here, little boy, Leelanosaura, it wants fruit and plants. So you need to make sure that they've got both, not just one, because they want to have a good amount there, which is quite cool in your stimulation diversity. And you can see there, Paleoflora feeders diet, social group, and then enrichment as well will be quite cool. So that's a good example there. So to help ease players into this new approach, we're going to introduce a couple new feeders, and I'm quite excited about this. The team was aiming to introduce small food trays, fake or faux meat or fish carcasses, and faux logs with fruits and insects to help with your habitat planning more engaging. We hope to show these how these look in a dev diary closer to release. So I think that's really cool. I know they've been been looking at investing in different designs and things for different feeders in real zoos. Like I know there's one zoo in I think the US. I think it's a Minnesota zoo that they have like a fake moose where they put meat in for the wolves to eat. But there's a lot of different things in zoos, a lot of feeders instead of just using bowls. But I think, having logs, because I know some zoos I usually work at, or one zoo I've worked at, because we had a lot of insectivores, we kind of just had a big pile of logs that we would rotate and let them, get full of insects, and then that would provide, a way of stimulating feeding. So just rotting logs, I think that'd be quite cool. Faux meat and fish carcasses would be quite cool on logs. I think those are all really cool ways, because I know that'd be more stimulating and more visually interesting than just having a bunch of bowls in the enclosure. So I think things like that and looking at real zoos would be a really good way of looking at that. I think that'd be quite cool. So yeah, I like to see how this develops, kind of that real world husbandry aspect, something that I know a lot about, so it'd be really cool to work with that there. There we've got paleobotany. So finally, if you first look at Paleoflora gameplay, if that wasn't enough, we've got a few more plants for you. Below are 2 species coming to the temperate biome, offering a variety of shapes and sizes. We suspect the addition of a plane tree is going to be a lot of use for for builders. So here we've got plantanes, I believe you say that, so another cool, really extinct plant. Looks really, really nice. We've also got this really cool little fern thing here. It's called Trodecadendrus, I believe you say that. Really, really cool one. I'm not really that versed in paleo plants, to be honest. And it's cool that this game gives me a little bit to really learn about these things. But at last, but certainly not least, we've got the first look at a first tropical plant, which is a fossil cycad. These variations on this one are particularly diverse. They almost look like palm trees. So you can see it's almost like a Cretaceous, the Jurassic version of a palm tree. This is Leptocycus. So this is basically a cycad that looks kind of like a tree. And you can see the different variations there. And it looks really cool. I'm definitely a big fan of that. But yeah, we've also got the community spotlight. We're going to have a look at this. And so this is made by Assassin Spino. Really cute little one of Mama Acro and her baby, in front of the sunset. Looks really, really cool. This one here is cool as well. This is by Franku192. These guys are really playing with fire, playing with the tail of an Ankylosaurus. I really love this yellow skin, by the way. It very much reminds me of walking with dinosaurs. Really, really awesome. And you can see those two being quite mischievous. And then we've got over here by Overnator, we've got, Keeper with 2 young Carcharodontosaurus following. I'm not sure in real life they would allow that to happen, because I'm sure even as youngsters, these guys could very severely hurt a keeper. So it'd be cool in the future if that gets expanded to, have dangerous animals that humans can't go in with, so they have to have, vehicles and things like that, or something like that. I think that would be quite cool to work with. Something to work around just to make that a little bit more realistic. But yeah, I think that's a little bit further in the future for that. But yeah. So thank you for reading April's Dev Diary. We'll be back next month to report on Updates 15's progress. Thank you to everyone who has checked our planned or played Update 14. We're incredibly happy with the feedback so far. As mentioned, the team are working on another support patch that we hope to get out soon, but beyond that, we hope you have a lovely May. Until next time, the BK team. So yeah, really, really cool. Another one to give us good updates and things. I really love the Paleofeeder idea, not the Paleobotany. That's going to be so cool. I like the browsing idea as well. I think that would be a cool way to manage enclosures. But also the new feeders. Instead of just having bowls, we can have some actually in feeders that try to encourage natural behavior and be a little bit more enriching. So maybe even feeders can feed into that enrichment bonus. I think that'd be quite cool, and also, this animal awareness thing. Get them to actually stand their ground and interact with each other a little bit more. I think it'd be really cool. So, yeah, I'll pick that Brachiosaurus one and, keep it on that one. So, yeah, I really, really, really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Hope you guys like and subscribe. Always remember to hit the little bell icon to get notified of anything. So, if you guys enjoyed this video, hope you guys like and subscribe, and bye-bye.